Okay, when I was 21 years old, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. It's kind of hard to describe exactly what that is, and if you look on Google, it's confusing because there are 9 criteria that you need to meet, and you only actually have to meet 5 to qualify for a diagnosis. At the time I was diagnosed, I met all 9. How it's affected me in life, it makes it really hard for me to communicate how I'm feeling. It means that emotions are exceptionally overwhelming, and I don't cope very well with highly emotionally charged situations. I'm really hard on myself, and just in general I struggle with depression, self-worth, and also panic attacks, and more recently quite strong anxiety and panic attacks. One day I'm trawling Facebook, as I used to, and still do, and I saw an ad for Dynamic Martial Arts. It was offering 3 months free training, which at the time was just brilliant. I had no money. I'm a single mum, raising a boy on my own, was living on the benefit because I couldn't hold down a job because of my mental illness. And it offered 3 months free training if you fought at the end. And I thought, sure, that looks like fun. So I came along to the tryouts, and it was just the yuckiest feeling. I walked in the door and was hands down and by far the biggest person in the room, and by biggest I mean obviously fattest. I wasn't the tallest, by a long shot, and I believe I outweighed everybody else by about 50 kilos. So at 130, everybody else was around 80, so it was a great feeling. I honestly thought they wouldn't let me do it. I never thought they'd choose me, and the day I got the phone call from Dave, I can't even begin to describe how I felt. Elated, terrified, but more importantly, it was on. It was on. Something inside just went, it is on. And I came to the gym every day, and I had to train 20 times harder than anybody else to get half as good. It's still very much the case. Just being older and being the size that I was, you have to work so much harder. And don't get me wrong, so many times I was bawling and wanted to give up. I really didn't think I could take it anymore. It hurt. My body would ache. I was tired. It wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to go. I wasn't as good as I wanted to be. I wanted to be this super epic kickboxer, and I was still not there, and it was frustrating. So for me it was about focusing and just moving forward. My first Fight Girls fight was tough. It was actually against a friend, which makes it harder, but at the same time it was really good because we pushed each other and egged each other on. Never thought I'd win the fight. I know I constantly bragged, I've got this, but that's fight trash talk. I got in there and I was terrified, and she hit me hard. I didn't know how I kept going. I think there were times in the fight we both looked at each other and thought, really? But we did, you know, both of us pushed through to the 3 rounds, and at the end of the 3 rounds, they came back and said, 4th round. I thought I was gonna die. I looked at my coach and was like, nothing left. And I just remember him looking at me and saying, do you want this? I said, yeah. He goes, well, go and get it. I did, and I wasn't getting out of that round until I had won the fight. It just, something clicked. It was that 4th round. I was dead on my legs. I couldn't lift my arms. I saw Pauline in front of me and just thought, this is mine. Winning, whew. Wow. I just stood in the middle of the ring, and I remember raising my trophy up above my head and thinking, wow. Before Fight Girls, just to give some kind of indication of where I was in my life, I 130 kilos. I'm only 5'3", so that's pretty big. Really struggling with depression and mental illness. Lonely, terrified of life, and desperate to get out of my situation. Mental illness was just taking over. It was winning, as I like to say. It's a daily battle. And it was winning, and I was losing. After Fight Girls win, I was riding high. I thought, yep, I can do this. And I wanted to grade. I wanted belts. I dreamed of being a black belt. I dreamed of being able to do these techniques that at the time I was not even close to being able to do. 2 years on, I am now a club black. It was quite possibly the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. fighting is nothing compared to what they put you through in a technical grading at that level. It was grueling, it was heartbreaking at the same time, but to receive my black belt was just one of the highlights of my life. March this year, I competed in a mat tournament, which is not fighting in the ring, it's fighting in squares in the mat, and was selected for the New Zealand team, yay! So this year at the end of October, beginning of November, I will be going to Spain to represent my adopted country in the World Kickboxing Championships. This is a particularly large achievement for me, A, because I am actually older than the age cutoff, so I will be fighting people younger than me, and B, because it means for me dropping down a lot more weight so that I can be competitive. The weight category is open from 75 kilos, so any kilo that I'm over 75 is a disadvantage in speed against everybody else. The training regime for Worlds is just grueling. I've got to run daily for my cardio endurance, grueling fight workouts here and pad sessions. I'm working with my fight coach, Gary Sawyer, who is just the best coach ever and really tailors what we're doing to my style and to keeping me out of trouble and working with my strengths. The hardest part, I think, has been the food, the dieting, and keeping on top of things as far as outside club life. Anything beyond my son and my club, is hard. I've got to work 40 hours a week, and sometimes I'd much rather be training to make sure that I'm prepared. But it's going well. Life is what life is. I've got a lot going on, but this is my next thing. This is my next goal, and I want to come back with a medal from Worlds and say, hey, I'm a world champion kickboxer now. My advice for anybody wanting to do kickboxing is get out there and do it. But especially anybody with mental illness, it's particularly dear to my heart, being a mental illness sufferer myself. So to all of you out there, we can do this. It's not easy, and I'm not going to lie and say it is, but you find ways. This journey's been 2.5 years now, and it's been a rough 2.5 years. There's been times when I honestly thought I couldn't go on. And if it weren't for the amazing support of my club, specifically Dave Sawyer, the head instructor, I don't think I would have done it, not on my own. A lot of this journey is going to be on your own, and you just have to not quit. Don't take no for an answer. Know that you can deal with this. I still have panic attacks in the gym, in front of people, which when I first started was just the worst and most humiliating thing ever. But they know me now. They know what to do. It's not normal. It's never going to be normal, but it's okay. And it's okay for you too. You don't have to feel like you can't do these things because of your illness, because where there's a will, there's a way. You can do it.